Hello everyone, I am Daniel. Here with me John, who also made a video for Theories of Everything with Curt Jaimungal YouTube channel. John, if you wish, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm John. I run the Identity of Reality YouTube channel, and on there, basically what I plan to do is post a bunch of CTMU related content. And I come from a math and science background, an engineering background. It's really kind of like a side project that I want to work on to basically communicate the CTMU in a much better way than has been presented in other places, either through like other people in the community uh and their posts and stuff, or like the interviews with Chris Langan.
Could you talk about where did you find the contest or the Theories of Everything YouTube channel?
Yeah, sure. So I remember I was looking at some community posts related to the CTMU, and I saw the Curt Jaimungal interview, and I guess it might have been around a year or like a year and a half ago now, since he interviewed Chris Langan. And back then, I think Kurt had like maybe like 60,000 subscribers. He had like a really low number of subscribers at the time. And I loved his channel, so I immediately subscribed because he was a great interviewer, and I think it's just a good idea for having a channel like that where all these different intelligent people are being interviewed about their theories of reality and stuff like that. And so I kind of kept a watch on his channel ever since then. And I saw the announcement video. And around that time, whenever he first posted the announcement video, I was already planning on releasing some sort of like educational material related to the CTMU to try to communicate it to lay people, because often, that's the biggest critique people aim towards the CTMU. It's like, oh, I can't understand it. I can't understand anything. So I thought, okay, well, I really think it would go a long way to put effort into solving that issue. And I was right on the cusp of releasing some stuff, and then Kurt released the announcement video, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because now not only do I have like my own internal motivation for doing it, but I have some sort of external motivation as well. And so yeah, that's pretty much how I found out about the contest.
Could you just talk about the video itself briefly, and if you wish to just maybe if you able to explain the CTMU a little bit more broadly. But let's start with the video and then we will see how far we can go with the CTMU.
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, if you go back at the contest rules and the description, the submissions have to be related to physics or consciousness. So I thought, okay, let's let's tackle consciousness. What does the CTMU say about consciousness? And since it was the first video on my channel, I also thought, okay, well, let's give some sort of background about Chris Langan so that people clicking on the channel, they're just not, you know, confused, like what's going on? Who's this Chris Langan guy? Where is he getting all this stuff from? So the video gives a brief introduction to Chris Langan, and then it goes into the CTMU view of what consciousness is, which, as a big general summary, is an intrinsic property of everything in reality. And consciousness is described in the CTMU as uh, basically like an identification operation. So an operation almost like in a mathematical sense, right? Where things identify one another.
Basically, we could talk about a human being as a consciousness, sure. It's a frog also should be a conscious, an ant also, and we can go down like an atom in this sense also can be that, and the quark as well, right?
Yeah. And it's the CTMU would say there are different levels of complexity along that line of reasoning. So they all have like the same intrinsic consciousness, but there's also different levels of complexity up from that.
Actually, I'm interested in where is the complexity come from, and if you have any knowledge about that.
That's a good question. So that is related to at least in my mind, whenever I think about that, that's related to the distinction between primary, secondary, and tertiary syntactors in the CTMU and why there are like three levels instead of just one or two. And to be completely honest, that's one part I still need to understand more. So I wouldn't be able to tackle that in a way that I would be satisfied with because it's something I still haven't resolved for myself. Because it does seem a little bit unclear exactly why, like where that complexity comes from, like you say. Um, yeah, so
All right, yeah, fair enough. Maybe I just will ask you that I saw there was another CTMU mentioned video, I guess, right? Could you
mhm.
just talk about that? Did you like it, or why you didn't like it? And after that, just please let me know. Did you watch any other videos? Did you have any favorite one?
Yeah, sure. So I did see the other CTMU submission for the contest, and overall, I think it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't a misrepresentation of the CTMU, and I don't think it was inaccurate in any like foundational way, according to my own understanding. I do have an issue though. This is very nitpicky, okay, because it was a contest submission, and uh I think it shouldn't have been as long, and it probably could have been organized in a more engaging way. Um, and maybe in a way that was easier to follow as well. And so those would be my biggest critiques, but overall, I don't think it was like I think it was pretty good compared to like some other stuff. So they have some other small videos of people like summarizing CTMU stuff, and it's kind of correct, but also it's kind of inaccurate in my view because sometimes the words that they use are a little bit just inaccurate for what the CTMU actually means. So yeah, I think it was pretty good though.
All right. What about any other video? Did you see or watch any other PaCE1 contests?
I didn't have like a whole lot of time because around this whole time, from like seeing the announcement video to submitting my submission and then the grading process. I was busy with like my college stuff, but I did see the Lagrangian Mechanics one, and I watched some, like maybe like half of the electrodynamics one, and those were like the two physics one. Or I also watched the what was it called? It was like the 2 hour long one. That was
The sonic gravity or another
oh yeah, yeah,
science?
yeah. Yeah, I think it was that one. I think that's what it was called. Um the Lagrangian mechanics one was really, really well made, and I learned a lot from it because for me, angular mechanics related stuff has always been kind of difficult for me to understand, and the way that was presented in that video was just really well done. And then the electrodynamics one, dynamics one, I was just interested in because it's related to uh, my interest. I like electricity and stuff like that. And then the supersonic, I think, yeah, supersonic gravity theory of everything or something like that. That one was interesting. Um, I was kind of afraid though that this would happen in the contest submissions. I don't know. It felt very hand wavy, and there was a lot of stuff being said that was understandable and comprehensible, but there was no connecting of the dots really, in my view. And there wasn't sufficient stuff there to connect the dots. So maybe, I don't want to judge it too harshly, because maybe there is something really good in there, but from what I saw, I didn't really see much of that.
What do you think about the overall appearance of the PaCE1 contest and about the organizations, or any idea or any thoughts about that? Did you like the setup or?
Yeah, I did. I did. I guess sometimes it was a little bit frustrating because they took a little bit of time to stay in touch with everyone that submitted. Um, I think it was held or it was organized well. Um, and it seems like they really did give everyone like a really solid chance when they were judging the submissions.
Yeah, I guess there was so many honorable mentions there.
Yeah,
You
there are a
probably
lot of them. Yeah.
refer of that. It's around 20, if I'm correct, and 5 winners, so overall
Yeah.
25 video was mentioned. Tyler was in plus. It's also included.
I wanted to watch his, but I didn't have time. I've
Uh-huh.
been meaning to watch his stuff, but I just don't have the time because a lot of his stuff is a little bit too long for me. But he's sorry to like sidetrack a little bit. He seems like he's in the theory of everything community and the CTMU community, and he has like a pretty known presence in those communities. And so I gotta check out his stuff at some point. I'll try to do it at some point.
Yeah, I think you will be a good start if you start with the PS1. It's not that long as well.
That's good.
All right. I have a good question for every guest. Which book or which YouTube video you would like to tell to the audience to check out or read?
So this is gonna seem a little bit like a surprise. Like you're gonna be like, how is this related exactly? I don't see the connection. But I think Maps of Meaning is actually a very, very good book for reading if you're interested in theories of everything. So for me, I'll explain a little bit why I think Maps of Meaning is really good. For me, when I first started reading about the CTMU, a lot of it was intuitively clicking with the theory of everything I was trying to like create on my own. And it wasn't like something I was seriously pursuing. It was just a model of reality I was using just to understand things in general. But that model that I had was informed a lot by maps of meaning. And I think if people really look in there, they're not going to see a psychology book. It's not really a psychology book in my view. It's more of a philosophy book because in that book, he's talking about what exactly uh, meaning is, and then how does that relate to action in the world. So it's really like a moral philosophy and a little bit of an ontology book. Um, and I think if people there's some aspects I've been surprised that there's some aspects in there which correlate quite shockingly with other theory of everything ideas that I've come across. So really, I only study the CTMU because that's the one uh, I'm the most interested in. But every now and then I'll come across some other idea, and then I'll look into it for a little bit. And every now and then there's different connections. And I think there's a lot of value in that book for people that are interested in this community and this kind of work.
All right.
And also I mention it because it does not get a lot of credit attributed to it, even though Jordan Peterson is a very popular person. I rarely ever hear people talk about the philosophical content of that book. So I think it's very underrated. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's all right. Really nice. I like you talk about that. Actually, I didn't know who was the author, but you said Jordan Peterson. So I guess that's it, right? Would you like to talk about a little bit broader about the CTMU or any other topic as we close this interview?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll give a broad summary of the CTMU. I would say when you look at how Chris Langan writes about the CTMU, there are three broad uh, metaphors or representations for what he's trying to say. So he'll talk about things as a reality self-simulation as one representation. So he'll say that reality is simulating itself. It's coming to know itself through its observers, and so it tries to model things that way. So people nowadays talk about simulation, like we live in a technological simulation, a computer simulation. It's kind of like that, but it's even more abstract because it has to be a self simulation, and it has to be it has to extend beyond computation. So that's one way of representing the CTMU. Another way is linguistically. So what I mean by that is when Chris talks about reality being a self-configuring, self-processing language, uh, he means it. He's describing something in terms of formal logic. So he's saying that reality has to be able to configure itself, but it also has to be able to process itself. It has to do everything that it needs to do for itself. And describing it as a language, it's a very abstract way of describing things. But if you understand where his terminology is coming from, it is accurate, uh, like textbook accurate. And then lastly, the CTMU has a mathematical representation. So I am familiar with uh, Weinstein's geometric unity a little bit, or I've heard of it. I haven't dug too deep into it, but that's kind of along the lines of where the CTMU is. So he's trying to look at how to represent reality's geometry um, as basically something which is generative and uh, self-configuring and self-processing, right? So all of these different representations, they relate to one another. So that's why I kind of broke it up because people going into the CTMU, I really think it's a whole lot simpler than what they make it out to be, but you get clouded with all the different language and it's hard to see what relates to one another. But if you kind of parse things out in that way, where it's like, okay, well, he's talking about things mathematically here, and then he's talking about things linguistically here, and then over here he's talking about it like it's a computer simulation. I think that makes it a little bit easier.
Do you think if Chris Langen would talk about in a more late term way about the CTMU, it would be a better way or more people would be engaged with his ideas?
On the one hand, yes, because I see that as one of the primary obstacles for people to understand the CTMU and for the CTMU to spread, which is a goal that Chris Langan has espoused multiple times. Like he obviously wants the CTMU to get out there. So on the one hand, yes, I do think that's going to accomplish that. But what's going against him is that he's going to be the one saying it, and people don't really like him, and for various reasons. So that kind of puts him in a tough position because they just see him for like past stuff he said, and it's like, well, why would we ever listen to him? But then it's like, well, no, no, listen, he's actually like, he's communicating a lot better. And I think as well, if you compare his recent works with his past works, the recent papers with the past papers, the writing is so much cleaner and it's so much more straightforward. than it used to be. So it's obvious he is really trying to, I guess, I don't want to say dumb it down, but try to make it communicable to lay people. Um, yeah, so I would only hope that if he did do that, then that would be the outcome. Uh, but I am also skeptical because I think he's put himself in a very tough spot with like a lot of people in the broader community.
All right. Maybe he will sometime hear this conversation. Also, I would like to ask you, do you know about the Stephen Wolfram physics project? Did
I've
you?
heard of it, but I don't know that much about it. Could you like enlighten me a little bit?
Uh, well, I also didn't deep dive into it, but I think it's worth your time to investigate a little bit, and then you can decide. I think it's really close to the CTMU in some sense, as you described the geometric unity as well.
Hmm.
So I think it's a good thing to check at least.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out then.
John, please let me know any website, any link you wish to have in the video, and I will show it. And thank you very much for the interview.
Thanks for being a great interviewer. I guess the only link would be my YouTube channel link, which I can send you after this. The YouTube channel is Identity of Reality, and we also have uh, a Discord group that is quite small, but yeah, we hope to make it more active as the months go by.
All right, thank you very much, and bye bye
Thank you.
everyone.